Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Entropia content. Today's episode is going to be more action-packed, I believe, because there's something big happening today. Actually, all month, and I completely forgot yesterday because I forgot what month it was. Now, I haven't really been paying attention much to the date lately because I'm like, hey, every day is the same for me. I just have to help look after my uncle. It doesn't matter what day it is. Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, it's all the same. So really haven't even been checking much about like what month it is. So I was like, holy shit, it's already October. I was supposed to be sober all day yesterday. So I figure it's not the end of the world. I know Joe Rogan was actually on his show today, and he said because of the pandemic, everyone's down in the dumps so bad that they're actually not going to do Sober October. I was thinking that's a bit of a disappointment because I was like, really, when you're down and depressed, it really is the best time to sober up because it helps you like get your life like more sorted out. Normally when you're so intoxicated, you don't really plan what you're doing. So yeah, I just think that's the case. It's like, I don't know, I'm hoping Joe reconsiders and goes back to doing it because I know it affects a lot of people's lives. I was surprised. You'll never guess how I found out about Sober October yesterday. I was all biking back from the disc golf course and I had to pass some kids because they're biking slow. So when I was passing them on the trail, I happened to overhear them talking. And when they were talking, guess what they were talking about? They were like, oh, Sober October's here. And I thought that was kind of weird because these are like 10-year-old kids. So like, why are they talking about Sober October? I think they were joking that some of their parents or siblings or something were acting different because now they're all sober. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now I was thinking, man, like Joe should think about that. It's like his Sober October thing has actually changed the lives of like a lot of people. I know he was saying before that he didn't know that Sober October was already a thing before they started doing it, and then they found out that it already was a thing. So they were discussing whether or not they actually maybe read about Sober October, forgot about it, and then started planning to do it subconsciously because they had forgotten that they had already known about it. I know that happens with musicians a lot, right? Like they'll listen to music, random music, then they'll get inspired to write a song like a week or two later, and then they forget that the song that they're writing is actually very similar to a beat that they had stuck in their subconscious memory. It's like they heard it playing on the radio, forgot about it, and now they think that it's a new beat that they came up with. Yeah, so I hope everyone's gonna give Sober October a try, either if you're addicted to alcohol, booze, or cigarettes, fucking weed, whatever drug of choice, caffeine, Tylenol, Percocets, whatever your shit is. Heroin, mushrooms, acid. Now I was thinking a few of my friends were talking about doing magic mushroom trips, and I was like, you know, I'm actually kind of tempted to do that, but not really. It's like the last time I was tripping was like when I was a teenager, and I don't know, I kind of outgrew most of that, but maybe if I was on like a really intense camping trip where I needed energy to hike in the woods for like days, then I probably would. I would allow myself to be spiked. I would never actually take illegal substances. Willingly. Now, if anyone hasn't tried magic mushrooms, I don't know, like, I shouldn't be talking about drugs so much in Sober October. It's probably going to make people Jones, but... Now, magic mushrooms is one of those drugs that it makes you super happy or it can make you super paranoid, depending on what the situation is. Like, I know a friend of mine, I went to his party on New Year's and he ate a whole bunch of mushrooms, and just as he was getting hammered, like it usually takes about a half hour to kick in because your digestive system is much slower at activating drugs and inhaling substances. So anyways, yeah, when you eat the mushrooms, it takes like a half hour or so to kick in. So my buddy ate them, and he was having a big New Year's party at his house, like his apartment. It was just packed with people, everyone having a great time. All of a sudden there's a knock at the door. We're like, oh fuck, who is it, right? Like, maybe more people partying. Is it booze here that are arriving, or what is it? Open the door, it's the fucking cops. We're like, oh, holy fuck, right? Because like some people have been smoking weed, and that's when weed was still illegal. So you could smell like the billowing weed smoke going through the whole hallway. Cops are definitely smelling it. And I was like, oh fuck, the cops can like issue a search now because they've already have probable cause. Once they don't even need a warrant if they see crimes occurring. So yeah, that's the thing. What happened was it turns out the cops were there with his mom. And what happened was his mom is like a raging alcoholic, and she went on like a binge for drinking for New Year's, and she got kicked out and wherever she was drinking. And then what happened was the cops were called to get rid of her. So they were going to put her in the drunk tank, but they thought, hey, instead of bringing this old lady to the drunk tank, they should really just give her back to the family and help them look after her. So that's what happened, is the cops ended up showing up at this guy's apartment to drop off his mom. And they're like, can we drop this lady off here, or your mom, so that you can look after her? Meanwhile, my friend's like just starting to peak on magic mushrooms. He's like, oh yeah, I can take care of her. No, but luckily there were so many people there that like had already known his mom, and we helped take care of her. Even though we're all hammered. No, that's the thing I was going to say, is that magic mushrooms can be one of those things where if you're like having a great party, it's a lot of fun, but man, as soon as the cops can get involved, you'd be surprised how fast the anxiety can kick in. Yeah, so those cops were nice. It's like, I don't know, a lot of times people give cops a hard time, but really, they're just people that are doing a hard job too, right? Like, can you imagine having to go in to work and being a cop? That'd be a nightmare, especially in Toronto. Like, every day you go to work, there's like thousands of gang members that are all looking to shoot you in the back the first second they get. Because fucking gang violence in Toronto is off the hook. We're looking at like worse than New York, multiple deadly shootings per night, average. It's fucking like a war zone. So you're telling me you would go and be a cop? It's like, you could pay me $1 million to be a cop for 1 year and I wouldn't do it. It's fucking too risky. Not to mention, even if you do your job, like, people are just going to give you a hard time. You arrest some criminal who's fucking spitting COVID at people, and then all of a sudden what? Now that you arrested him and choked him, now you're going to be up on murder charges? Fuck that. I'd be like, okay, please, people, you can police yourself. So I don't know, big shout out to all the law enforcement people. I know I get carried away sometimes with bending the rules, but overall, I am a big fan of rules. It keeps our society together. And without rules, what would we break, right? Now, there are a few things, like, I don't know if anyone's never tried Sober October before. Be careful. Being sober is actually way more dangerous than people let on. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, sober up from drugs, it's a great thing, it'll help improve your life. It's like, yeah, that's a possibility, but there's also a strong possibility that it's going to be a fucking nightmare, right? Sorry, I just fucking finished eating breakfast. Notice I had toast still on my face. Alright, so we got one AI here. That was pretty sweet. I don't see much more in the way of AI. Just take a quick look around. No, like Graham Hancock, he's like a famous ancient mystery researcher. He had the problem with sobriety. It's like, you may have noticed when Graham Hancock was going on for years and years about legalizing drugs and weed. It's because he was a raging cannabis user and he wanted it to be legal because he's using it, right? But at one point, Graham decided to try quitting. I don't know if it was Sober October or what it was, but he said it was the first time he went 1 day without smoking weed in over 30 years. So I was like, holy fuck. And same thing happened to him, the sobriety kick. Like, sobriety, when you first do it, it's a big boost. You're like, holy fuck, it's amazing. I got all this energy and never tired. It's great, wonderful. And then sometimes people, when they get into that sobriety mode, will start preaching sobriety. They'll be like, hey man, if you're doing weed or booze or anything, you should stop because I've just discovered that sobriety is the greatest thing ever. Here's some fruit. How much did I get? 51. Woohoo! Alright, so yeah, we're just raking in the items today. AI, fruit, things are going well. Yeah, so anyways, what happened was Graham Hancock, when he experienced sobriety for the first time in his life, he was like, holy, what a rush. So he started going around telling everyone to quit weed, never do it, say it's a nightmare and shit, that the addiction will get to you. And then he did a whole bunch of like speeches and lectures about how everyone should quit doing weed. And then what happened was he ended up trying weed again after he had quit for a while, and he realized that it was all about balance. It's like, yeah, quitting weed is great, but eventually you start to top out again too, where you no longer get that big boost of energy from being sober. Alright, some Burkout. So then he got to the point where he realized, like, hey, it's like smoking weed occasionally, like on weekends, is probably the way to do it. The only thing is, if you're a raging addict, then you can't really just do it on weekends, because then you'll just start doing it chronic. So I kind of realized the same thing when I go through bouts of sobriety. I try not to be like overly preachy, telling everyone, oh, sobriety is the greatest thing ever. Because really, it's a two-sided coin in my opinion. There's times where being sober is great, and times where it's nice to have a buzz. You just gotta try to maintain some sort of element of balance. Now, I was wondering what other dangerous stuff Graham Hancock did once he became sober. I noticed my first bout of sobriety, like, I think it was close to 15, 20 years, getting baked every day. And then, what happened was, it was actually a raging conspiracy show I used to watch called, what was that guy's show called? Joe Blow Conspiracy Show? He's this conspiracy guy, and he's like teaching all these conspiracies, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty wild stuff. I like to research conspiracies at that time. Not so much into conspiracies anymore, but this is a phase in your life you go through. Sort of like believing in Santa Claus sort of deal. So anyways, he was preaching about the different conspiracies, and he's like, yeah, one of the biggest conspiracies he's noticed is making weed sound like the greatest thing ever. And I was like, it is. What are you talking about? A conspiracy that involving weed, making it sound better than it is. So then he started going on and on and on about all the different benefits that you get from quitting smoking weed, and how that weed is actually one of the government's most powerful tools to make people docile. So if they want you to sit at home and not object to all the rules they're changing, then they get you fucking high as fuck so you won't protest about it. Holy, there's like minerals everywhere today. Maybe I'm just seeing them because I'm not on the bong so much. It's amazing when you look up from the bong how much other things you see. Oh god, I miss the bong, but usually the first day is only the bad part. After the first day is over, it's not so bad. Actually, usually by the second day, I'm already fucking hating weed. No, the main issue is I always go to reach over to vaporize because I've got it into such a habit, it's almost like breathing. It's like I just do it instinctively. It's terrible. No, it's one of the most dangerous things that happened to me. Yeah, I was listening to that conspiracy show, and he's telling all the one that got me was the dreaming thing. He's like, I never even knew about it. I hadn't heard about it until that day. That when you smoke weed, it suppresses your dreams, so you don't dream as much as you used to. Like, I won't say that it'll suppress dreams 100%, but it's more like 98%. So you still get like 2% of your dreams getting through, but majority of them are all silenced from weed. Sort of like when you guzzle a whole bunch of booze and you go to sleep. It's like you're not really sleeping, you're just passed out. So they say that it's like your body doesn't actually rest and sleep the same way as it would if it had actually fallen asleep naturally and not just passed out. So yeah, so that's the deal. So when he started telling me about dreams and how you could dream more, I was like, holy fuck, I gotta try this sobriety thing to see if what this raging conspiracy theorist is saying is true. But he didn't warn about the negative side effects for quitting. He was just saying how great it is to quit. So yeah, it didn't take long before I started to realize the side effects of fucking quitting. There's some bad side effects too. Like I mentioned it before, last time I quit is the body odor thing. It's like your body gets so accustomed to being loaded with ammonia from the extra ammonia in weed that it stops killing a lot of the body odor or producing chemicals that kill body odor because the ammonia is doing it for you. But you can imagine once you stop pouring ammonia into your system, your body is not going to be able to switch back to producing the same chemicals like it used to right away. So it takes a while. That's where I use that 48-hour deodorant stick. It'll last about 7 hours, maybe 8 hours if you're lucky, and it'll suppress the smell. Now I tried the other brands and stuff and nothing else is even close. What is it, Right Guard 48% or 48-hour deodorant? It's the only thing. I must have tried 1,000 brands, well not 1,000, but basically every brand they sold I tried. And it was Right Guard 48-hour. It's the only thing that could do it. Or just smoke some more weed, but then that depletes the purpose. Yeah, and the other major side effect I didn't realize, I don't know, I guess Graham Hancock never had this problem because he was already married. But I was like, I noticed like when I was getting high every day, I didn't really care about spending time to date girls much. I was like, sure, like going to make out with a chick was pretty cool, but like actually wanting to date someone like on a regular basis, it seemed like it was too time consuming because I had consumed all my time with smoking weed. So then after I sobered up, I was like, hey, maybe I should spend more time in dating. And what do you know? It's like years and years of hardly ever dating anyone. It's like within a few weeks of being sober, I was fucking hooked up with a fucking smoking hot, like 20-year-old chick with like huge tits. I was like, holy fuck, man, my life has changed. No, but then that relationship didn't work out the greatest because she was actually really into smoking weed. And then as soon as I started smoking weed with her, I started to like, hey, maybe I'll just chill at home alone. I don't really need to come over and hang out with her anymore. So I was like, what the fuck? It's like, that's what I never realized, that weed actually drastically affects your relationships. Now, I think it would have worked out that both of us smoked weed together, but it was, our personalities were pretty conflicting. Like, I don't know, when it came to walking a dog is where it really got to me. It's like, she had this dog, and not to like make fun of her or anything, but she got a dog that she wasn't really prepared to take care of. Like, she lived in a very small apartment, very big dog. I was thinking, geez, this is not a good combination. And then when it came time to taking care of the dog, she would just let everyone else do it. It's like she would take the dog for a walk, would take a huge dump, and she'd be like, oh, just let someone else pick it up. I'm like, really? It's like, someone's gonna come by and step in this. It's fucking mean, right? And then same thing with her dog when shit in the backyard, like the people had to come to mow the lawn. Like she lived in a condo and they had the lawn condo cutters or whatever. Same thing, she's like, I'm not gonna bother cleaning my lawn, I'll just let the lawn guys mow over it. I'm like, man, that's really disgusting. Like, I'm a lawnmower, so I know when people do that, I fucking can't stand it. So I was reaching the point where I was like, okay, this relationship would work if I was willing to put in the effort to like constantly be cleaning up after this dog, but I was like, fuck it, man. I don't want to, it's pretty much a sign of things to come. So yeah, I managed to get myself out of that relationship. No, afterwards when I smoked some weed too, I was like, holy fuck, it's like when you sober up, you're like, oh, being sober is great, being in a relationship is wonderful. And then afterwards when I got wasted again, I was like, holy shit, man, this relationship actually isn't the greatest. I'm losing all my money, I'm losing all my free time. So after when I got wasted again, I was like, holy fuck, luckily I fucking got wasted and got out of that situation. A few more months of sobriety, I could have ended up married with kids. What a nightmare. I just came to check how many people are sweating. Looks like a few, but I want to go collect more items. I got more activity or energy because I don't need to just sit around now. Oh, and the other Sober October thing, or sobriety conflicts people should be warned about, is being too ambitious. Like, you know what someone says, like, being ambitious is good if you're not ambitious, right? Like, if you just sit around doing nothing all day, if you become more ambitious, it's probably a good thing. But let's say if you're a workaholic and you become more ambitious, that's probably not such a good thing, because you're already at the point where you're doing too much and it's damaging your health. And now that you've got this extra boost of motivation to do even more, you can start taking so much onto your plate that it'll cause a nervous breakdown. That's actually how I lost my one job. It was actually sobriety that got me fired. or let go, or however you want to call it. Now what it was is when I sobered up, I was like, hey, now I got all this extra energy, I'm going to try doing more work at work. So I was like talking to people more, taking on more projects, and doing just more and more and more. So I'm like, oh, this is great, I'm sober, I can do more and more and more. And then what ended up happening is I took too much onto my plate because I was addicted to doing more and more and more. Right, I was just talking to someone there for a second, but yeah, I'll check and see. Looks like the postal service items arrived, so I should go check on that. But before I do that, I'll just go and pick up a little bit of oil, if there's any. I think I seen someone running around picking up the oil, so there probably won't be much left. Yeah, so what happened is for that sober time, I started piling on the extra work at work. And then not only did I have more work then, but instead of just being happy with what I had, I was so ambitious that I went and got another job. So I was working 80 hours a week at one job and then doing part-time work, like another 10, 20 hours a week at a second job. So I was pushing like, I don't know, over 100 hours of working a week. I don't know if anyone's tried going over 40 hours a week. It's a fucking nightmare. Like you start like getting to the point of having a mental breakdown because it's too much for your body to take and mentally. Yeah, so that's what happened is when I started piling on so much work that I just couldn't take it anymore. I started getting nervous breakdowns. I was like, holy fuck, what's causing this? And then I realized it's like, hey, I piled on too much work. This being ambitious was a fucking nightmare. I should have just stayed at home smoking weed, and then I wouldn't have fucking gotten to this huge fucking problem. Because basically what happened is I had two jobs that were no longer happy with me. Because one job used me to the point where I was fucking worked to the bone, where I was fucking to the point of like a nervous breakdown. And then the other job is like, hey, like, why can't you work more for us? So I was like, two jobs that were both unhappy with my work performance. I was like, oh fuck, I went from being really good at one job, now I have two jobs and I can't do both of them. And so what happened is I decided the new job, I'm like, I'm sorry guys, it's having a nervous breakdown, I can't take this extra work, going back to my old job. And then when I went back to my old job, they laid me off. They're like, oh, you're gonna leave for another job, are you? It's like, we're just gonna lay you off now. I was like, holy fuck. And it's like, they didn't even lay me off properly either. They like wrote me a letter telling me that they didn't want me to come back. But it wasn't like you're fired or you're laid off. They're like, we just don't like you and we don't think you should be around us. But they didn't fire me. So I was like, well, what the fuck? It's like, if you tell someone that you don't like them and you don't want to see them at work, and it's the boss telling you that, like, what do, right? So eventually I just said, look, the boss told me he doesn't want me at his job anymore. So I was like, I took that as I was fired. And then they're like, or I took that as I was like, yeah, they basically laid me off and told me not to come back. So I was like, okay. So when I went to the unemployment insurance thing, they're like, oh, you were fired, that you can't collect unemployment insurance, or that you quit. And I'm like, well, I didn't quit. They told me they didn't want me around anymore. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Just keep going back to the job? And then they're like, what? And then I showed them the letter that they wrote, told me not to come, that they didn't want me there. And then they said, okay, that's enough that we can give you unemployment insurance, because the way they got rid of you isn't really right. They should either fire you or fucking, they can't just tell you that they don't like you and that you shouldn't come to work anymore. So that was kind of funny. So yeah, I was thinking, dear God, like, sobriety actually, and I had that job for 9 years and it was the highest paying job I ever had. So sobriety actually, in a way, ruined my life. So be careful. It's like, if you have a really easy job and you like doing it, be careful, because if you quit smoking weed, you'll probably get ambitious enough to try to do a harder job. Then once you start doing that harder job, then can you really do it for a long period of time is the question. Maybe you could do it for a month or two, but a few years down the road, what's it going to do to your health? Yeah, and the other ambitious thing I did when I quit smoking weed is I applied to join the army. And I was so surprised, like, I did the whole application, everything went great. And I was like, why are they never calling me back? And it's like, I called them back and they're they're just not interested. And I was like, it's so weird. It's like, or no, they never did call me back. It was like, I never got a reason as to why. And I was like, then after I smoked a joint, like a few months later, I was like, oh God, thank God the army didn't call me back, and I could be stuck in some fucking war zone, right? Man, that'd be a nightmare. All because I got so ambitious. So not to completely bash on sobriety, there's definitely upsides to it, but just beware, it's like, you can drastically fuck up your life with sobriety as well. You could end up married, having a good job, be a fucking nightmare. Is this wolf after me? Guess I'll sweat him. I don't want him to fucking attack my ship. Yeah, I got some sweat out of him. Now I'll turret him. Alright, so maybe today I should talk about some of the benefits of sobriety, not just be ripping on it. No, for me it's the big appetite thing. Like fucking weed makes me hungry, so if as soon as I stop smoking weed, bam, not overeating anymore. It's fucking sweet. And it's like I don't even have to try, it's like I'm actually not hungry, so it's like, I don't know, it's what it is. Well, I don't know, another weird thing I noticed is every time that I quit smoking weed, I get really into flossing my teeth. Like normally I just floss my teeth once a day or after meals, it gets stuff stuck in it like pork or something or corn. But man, I don't know what it is. When I stop smoking weed, it's like I just want to floss my teeth all day. It's like I just like floss, floss, floss. Got all this attention for flossing. Looks like there is some enemies here. A lot of people. I don't know what it is with Rocktropia. Remember when I was doing the first videos on Rocktropia? It was a ghost town. There wasn't anyone at any of these rigs. Now it's just packed with people every day. It's good. As much as I wanted to just be greedy and take all the items, I'd rather hang out with other players. It's like, you ever wonder what would the world be like if you didn't have to share it with anyone? You could have all the peace and quiet, all the minerals and resources. But then what's the point, right? Like, sharing it with people is half the fun. Yeah, I'm surprised how many people play Entropia alone. Did I ever tell you guys the sweater that I ran into that was, yeah, he was sweating over by, whatchamacallit, where Raven Jade has that big shop underground. What are they called? The hangars or whatever? Spaceports. So anyways, he was sweating next to the spaceports, and he'd been sweating there for like a year and a half by himself. And he's just collecting sweat, playing the game alone by himself in that spot. I was like, well, why are you here? And he's like, he likes the peace and quiet. He likes how there's no one else around. I was like, doesn't that seem a little weird? Like, you're playing an MMO. Isn't the point of it multiple players is to see multiple people? Like, if you wanted to be alone, why didn't you just play a game where you're alone? Alright, I got one keg. I'm going to try to lure this guard out of the stadium so that people will have better luck getting it easier. See, I was telling, normally I can run pretty far with this guy chasing me, because I can dodge a fair number of attacks. Alright, so we got one keg, and we're coming up to the break time, so let's do a quick message from the break. Today's Sober October episode was brought to you by Crack! Crack! It'll fuck you up. Woo! Ah, there it is. Alright, welcome back everyone. Shit, I thought I hit okay already. Alright, just one rig left to check. We'll swing by the ice rig. Then once I do that, I'll go by and check out Camp Crunk and look at the items that arrived in postal shipping. Yeah, so anyone in the chat, do you have any cool stories about being sober or your life being ruined by sobriety or drugs? Not that I'm laughing at your ruined lives. Ruined. No, I have a defense mechanism for stress which involves laughing. But it can be a little awkward at times. It's like yesterday my back was so sore I could barely even finish recording the Clone Evolution episode. And then I was like laughing while I'm like so sore. I could just imagine people like, why are you laughing when your back is so sore? Like I'm trying to make it less depressing. Trying to be optimistic, lighthearted. No, it's funny, when you laugh, pain sometimes actually does seem less, so it's like just laughing can take the edge off a little. Oh yeah, does anyone have any extra tricks for sobriety? I was listening to this one podcaster or girl who does a show on YouTube. A really nice girl from Iran. And she was telling different stories about how she suffered from cannabis addiction and the different ways she managed to break the habit. And she shared one of her best secrets was raw milk. I guess she was really into the raw food diet at the time. Like, you know, some people are like, oh, eat raw vegetables or eat raw meat. There's different people doing that sort of stuff. So some people are into the raw milk. So she just happened to be experimenting with the raw milk diet. And then she noticed when she was quitting cannabis that every time she drank a glass of raw milk, it got rid of all of her cravings for cannabis. Which I find kind of weird because I don't even really get cravings. I get more of like just instinctive reactions rather than actual craving. But anyways, yeah, she said that when she drank it, all of a sudden she didn't have any cravings to smoke weed anymore. So that's what she was using as a crutch to quit. She would just try milk anytime. Same thing with her. She liked weed and all, but she noticed that it was like having a negative impact on her life about how much shit she was getting done. So she wanted to be more productive in her life, so she tried to balance it out by quitting weed for a while. I don't know if she quit forever or what she was planning on doing, but I haven't watched her show in a while. I really should see what she's up to. Now, she was a really nice YouTuber. If you put any comments in the section, she responded pretty quick. I don't know how to find her channel. I'll have to try looking it up. I was into researching the different diets, like the vegan diet and the carnivore diet, to see which was superior. And I pretty much reached the conclusion that the actual old Canadian food guide turned out to be the superior one. And how that food guide works is it basically admits that science has no idea. Well, they have basic ideas, but they don't have all the details about how nutrition actually works. They're sort of just guessing as they tell people. So when the Canadian food guide came out, in order to do it properly, they wanted everyone to be healthy, and they weren't sure which foods it was. So what they did is they just rounded it. They made it as wide variety of everything as possible. So they made this giant food guide and suggested a little bit of everything. Well, not even little bits, some were large quantities, but I didn't even know the Canadian food guide. Did anyone ever read it? It says that not only are you supposed to eat fish once a week, but it says specifically you're supposed to eat a saltwater fish at least once a week. And then they realized that something to do with saltwater fish was having a drastic impact on people's health. Like hair quality, nail quality, a lot of the stuff that like vegans have really bad issues with comes from fish, saltwater fish. I don't know if it's like the omega-3 or the B12, something like that. But anyways, I was like, holy fuck, it's like the Canada Food Guide is actually recommending that if you don't have a fish from the sea every week, you're going to have negative health effects. And I was like, holy shit, like I know a lot of people that never eat fish or never eat fish from the sea specifically, and they have a lot of bad health issues, especially ones associated with what fish helps. So I was like, holy fuck, man. Maybe the Canadian Food Guide was on to something. They weren't just on something. Yeah, it'll be nice not to need naps anymore either. I don't know if anyone's experienced quitting cannabis before, but usually I get like a good 3-4 days where I can't sleep at all. It's like just constantly awake like 72 hours in a row. That was the one issue I had, is every time I wanted to quit weed for a big special occasion, like maybe a big interview or a fucking big party or something, I realized that I couldn't quit smoking weed the day before, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And then if I couldn't sleep, I was going to be real tired the next day, and that would ruin the event for me even worse than smoking weed would. So you have to be careful of that. I don't know if there's any extra cure to help people sleep after they quit weed. I haven't been able to find it. Maybe it's looking at lots of pictures of giant boobs. So if anyone wants to help me sleep. Now come on, man. The internet has so many pictures of giant boobs. Why do I need more? More! It's like I always want more. I don't know what it is. Alright, so we're up to 400 oil, 649 of kegs. Maybe it's a good time to buy a lottery ticket. 649. Do you ever look into who won Lotto 649? I couldn't believe it. Like when I was at my old job, we used to invest in Lotto 649. We'd all pool together at work, buy pages and pages of numbers, and we'd play it every week for years. You know, we played that for years, and our biggest win, I think, out of all those years, pumping in like hundreds of dollars into it, I think we made $20. That was our biggest win out of like 5 years of playing the lottery every week, hundreds of numbers. So I was like, I started to look it up. I'm like, man, it's so hard to win the lottery. Like, how many people have actually won this? And I looked it up, and there's only been like 9 people in the history of Lotto 649 that have actually won the whole lottery. I was like, 9? How the fuck is that possible? And then what I found out is, what it is most of the people that win the lottery are in a big group. So they'll be like part of a company, and the company will have like 10,000 numbers that they're buying every week, and they do it for like 30 years. And then, so that doesn't actually count as someone winning the lottery. They said in order to like actually win the lottery, you have to buy it on your own and not split it with anyone, because then that doesn't count as one person winning the lottery. So when I looked it up, it was only 9 people in the history of the lottery have ever actually won it. I was like, holy fuck, 9 people out of like decades of this lottery every week. So I was like, holy fuck. It's like after that I started to realize, like, man, the lottery is actually way, way, way harder to win than anyone really gives it credit. And to be fair, I did meet someone who had won the lottery multiple times, and what it was he didn't win the full prize. Like, that was the other thing. People win Lotto 649, but how often do they win the full prize? Usually they'll win like maybe 6 numbers or 5 numbers or whatever. It's very rare for someone to actually win all the numbers. Hey, what the hell? I wasn't supposed to be looking for AI. I was supposed to be going to storage. Carried away talking. Now I had this one math teacher, and he was calculating to the class how hard it is to win the lottery, and he added to the calculation that you have to get all the numbers in the right order. I was like, man, that's not how the lottery works. It's like if your number comes up, they just move it to the right order. You don't actually have to get all the numbers in the same order. But he didn't understand that concept. He's like, no, you have to get every number in the right order. I'm like, no, man, it's like, if you get a 6, they'll move it to the beginning of the line. And if you get like a 48, they'll move it to the end of the line. It doesn't actually keep them in sequential order of when they were drawn. That's why the numbers are always like 3, 6, 8, 17, 50 or something, right? Like it goes in order. So he came up with some like ridiculous number, like in the billions to win. I'm like, no, it's not that hard. Yeah, because the one guy I knew, he owned a store and he was collecting lottery tickets from people and he won twice. I think that's where they came up with that rule where you have to sign the lottery ticket, because a lot of people are doing that. They would buy a store. They didn't care anything about what the store was buying and selling. The only thing they cared about was the lottery tickets and hoping that everyone came to cash them in at their store. And then what they would do is they would swap it out. So when someone came in, they would have the machine say you lost, give them a loser receipt saying you lost, and they would just take the winning ticket and claim it for themselves. And store owners got away with that for decades. So eventually the lottery corporation realized that, hey, almost everyone winning is a store owner. So they started to realize, like, hey, the store owners are taking advantage of people. And that's actually when a lot of store owners shut down, because they're like, hey, there's no point in having a store anymore because we can't rip people off with the lottery anymore. And I think sometimes maybe stores didn't even do it on purpose, because the one day I went to the Go train station, like with my card, a prepaid card, and I knew there was like 40, 50 bucks on it. So I'm like, I wanted to go and check to make sure what my balance was. So I went to the teller, asked her to check the balance. She checked it and she said 0, throw it in the garbage. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, the expiry date on your card is over and your balance is 0, throw it out. I'm like, excuse me, the card expiry date, I checked with head office and they said that they don't expire, that those expiry dates are just printed there as a misprint. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, well, why are you giving me bad advice? Like, you're a fucking employee at this place. Why are you telling me lies, right? I think maybe she just didn't know. And then, yeah, the same thing too. She's like, oh, there's no money on your card. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I take the card from her and I go to the machine that'll check it automatically. There's 50 bucks on it. So she lied. She said the card was expired and she said there was no money on it. So I was thinking maybe she didn't lie intentionally and she just made the mistake. But I was like, thank God I just didn't listen to her and throw my card in the garbage. A, I would have had to go get a new card and it wasn't expired. And B, 50 bucks was on it. So yeah, you got to be real careful with that Go agency. They get millions and millions of dollars from our government to run a transit system and they fucking rip people off like crazy. So I don't know, like, I used to like the Go train, but man, my opinion has changed about it over the years. Like when I first started using the Go train, it was the cheapest form of transportation, so I liked it. But now it costs more than driving. So I was like, why did you make the public transit system cost more than driving and the government's giving you millions of dollars to make it close to free? So something's not right here. And then I found out, oh, it's a union. So the union's taking all the government's money. They're getting rich and they're just fucking the general public. So that's the one thing I hate about unions, is how they're a fucking gang that groups together to take advantage of people that aren't part of the union. And those people that aren't part of the union are paying the union salaries. So that's their job, is to take advantage of the people paying their salaries. That's a fucking sickening system for corruption, if you ever seen one. Now, I'm not against anyone who joins the union. Like, fuck, if I had a family to feed, I'd be joining the union too. Saying, fuck the general public, I'll just take advantage of you and say, screw everyone that's not in the union. Yeah, did I ever tell you about the union meeting I went to? I was in charge of like supervising union members, and what happened was the supervisors were not getting the job done when they were part of the union. So they had to take the supervisor role out of the union so that they would actually do some work. And then, yeah, so these supervisor jobs are one of the ones I got. I was like, sweet, now I can like see how the union operates. So I got to attend the union swearing in ceremony. They get everyone to swear that they won't tell anyone what's happening under the union's watch. They're like, whatever you do, you're never allowed to tell people what we're doing. I was like, what the fuck kind of rule is that for a government agency, right? Like, government agencies should be completely transparent. They should have everything in the open so that everyone can see what's going on, making sure there's no fucking bullshit. So as soon as I got there and I heard the union say they have to swear all their employees not to tell what's going on, I was like, holy fuck, man. This union problem in our government is way worse than anyone has any idea, unless they're part of the union. then they know all too well they're making like $150 an hour, while the people paying their wages making $10 an hour, losing everything to taxes. It's kind of a sickening system, but oh well. All right, let's check out the crafting machine, see what we got. I'm gonna try to stay more positive these days, because now that I quit weed, I'll be more prone to getting cranky easier, so I have to be careful. Alright, so I've got some of the cheap ass shin guards available. See, these I was actually tempted to do a crafting run and try getting all the blueprints from doing cheap, armor? But it was just too much per click. Like, how much is the price here? Well, let's craft one just for the hell of it. What am I using? Alternative and Listerium. Right. I'll turn globals on, because you don't want to leave globals turned off. Let's try between the teak. I've never tried that for armor. And we'll put it on female armor. We'll put it on max clicks, but I'm going to stop it pretty soon. Holy, near success. Blueprint quality went up. I'm going to try to hold out for one success, see what it'll be. Ah, another near success. Really low, like fuck man, why is the near success 17? God, my Sandrunner fuel cell blueprint gives a better fucking near success. Still only near successes, come on game. Don't leave me hanging here. Holy, still nothing. 10 clicks in. Alright, let's do one male click. Now let's keep it female. They're screwing me around, so let's try a full success one, see what happens. Oh, 258 near success. There we go. Oh, another near success. What the fuck? I was gonna say I did it. Another near success. What the fuck? I don't want to get greedy. That was a lot of near successes. So let's try a little bit between the T's again. I just want one success. Is that too much to ask for? What the fuck? There it is, one success. Alright, so that was a little bit of an exciting crafting run for you guys. You can see that crafting these things is a little bit challenging. Didn't get any prints. No successes at the full condition, but pretty close. Oh yeah, and I was supposed to check the blueprint, see what I got. Alright, so 369. I've got enough Dananium. Danum. I've got the oil. I've got the Blazarium I need. Just need a little bit more animal hide. So just some hides, wool. So if anyone wants to help out with that, just give me a message in the chat. Oh fuck. That was the other thing I forgot. When you quit cannabis, you start to get headaches. I just felt the low on cannabis headache starting. God, annoying. Maybe I'll try some milk and see if it helps. Now, if anyone wants to know the science behind why fucking raw milk eases cannabis cravings, I looked more into it, or I think that a girl from Iran did, can't remember. But anyways, yeah, we found out what it was. And it turns out, like, you know when the way nature or the creator programmed everything in nature, is there's usually some sort of chemical reaction that occurs if the creator wants something to happen. So if the creator wants things to procreate, like to create life forms and stuff, he invented that, what is it, serotonin. So when animals make out or whatever, they start getting the pleasure sensation, and that's what causes them to do it. So same thing with breastfeeding. Breastfeeding has like this chemical involved, so that when you're breastfeeding, like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, like, it's funny as a guy, it's like, you see like an animal, they'll be like, I don't know, like a cat or a dog or something, and it has all these babies sucking on the tits, and you're like, God, that is so disgusting, right? Like, how could any animal suck on a tit like that? But then when it comes to like our species, it's like all of a sudden it becomes normal, right? And then I figured out what it is. It's our brain is hardwired with the chemical. So that every time a baby is breastfeeding, it gets this chemical, which is telling it, like, giving it like a huge pleasure sensation. So then it all of a sudden associates anytime it's breastfeeding with pleasure. So apparently that's the same thing that's happening with cannabis, is when you smoke cannabis, it's producing some of that same chemical from breastfeeding. So that's why it makes you like, oh, you're so relaxed and you want to keep doing it all the time. So it's like when you drink the raw milk, it starts to provide some of that same chemical that you would normally get from breastfeeding. So it's like now that your body's low on that chemical because you're no longer consuming cannabis, it's like you're topping up the supply by getting it from milk instead. Oh God, it's like I keep wanting to reach for the vaporizer. I better go get some milk. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Got myself a container of chocolate milk. It's not raw milk, but it'll have to do. Well, yeah, and that was what I was going to discuss. Yesterday's episode, I talked about doing the birthday party and crafting the Mamba blueprint. And then I was thinking, dear God, I made a stupid mistake. I was saying I was going to have the party on FOMA. I was like, wait a minute, I have to craft this on Rocktropia. So in order to have the party where I'm going to be crafting, I'll have to do it on Rocktropia. So I figure I'll change the party location to my booth at Camp Crunk. And that way I don't have to buy a hair cutting tool thing or anything. We can just skill on those zombies. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe for my birthday party too, not only will it be a Crafting Mania party for that reward print, but I'm going to make it so that anyone who's never done missions on Rocktropia before can come to my birthday party, get a free gun, get free ammo, and be able to shoot AI. And the reason I say it's only available for people who have never done missions on Rocktropia is because if you haven't done the AI mission before and you come here, they're the ones that are going to be giving you the free gun and ammo, not me. I'll just show you where to get it. Yeah, so someone, yeah, and I think for the party too, I'll do buying sweat. But I'm not going to do sweat buying at a really high price. I think I'll probably do it at like 1 pet a K, just so I can actually afford to buy it. So if anyone has a whole bunch of sweat they want to sell at the party, just let me know. I'll probably limit it to 1 person per sweat transaction at first, unless depending how much pet I have. And if no one's selling the sweat, maybe I'll raise the price a little. So I figured that'd be a pretty cool birthday party. You can take part in the streaming for the Crafting Mania reward. Everyone can cheer me on and help console me when I get 0 back. All fails. Hopefully I get 1 near success at least. That'll be nice. I think it's a little optimistic to think that I will get the whip, but I'm hopeful. See, this person's wanting to buy one of the whips. But this is just a weak whip. The one I saw is a 2000 tray terminal. So this is a smaller one they're looking to buy. I don't get it. What's the advantage to having the whip when it's that high of trade terminal value? Just so you don't have to repair it, or it does more damage or something? I don't know. Maybe it gives you a higher ratio of taming, or better taming chances. Holy fuck, this milk is not helping. Alright, so I think first thing I should do today for Sober October, start cleaning my desk so I don't have fucking drugs everywhere. Might make it a little bit easier not to be tempted to do them if I'm not surrounded by them. The other weird thing for Sober October is I'm still doing a lot of my pot plant stuff, so I'll be like watering my plants, trimming them, all sober. That'll be funny too when people see me harvest it. They'll be like, oh, you harvested your plants. Are you so happy now that you can smoke them? I'll be like, nope, can't. No, we'll see how Sober October goes. The thing that screwed me over last time was the bad health issues. So hopefully as long as I don't fast too much, I can keep those health issues under control. I don't know, last time my health issues got so bad, I actually thought I was gonna die there. It's like I've had bad health problems before, but never to the point where my whole body cramped up. I actually felt my organs hurting. So I was like, holy fuck, man, this is close to the end. But somehow I managed to pull through. I think it was just food poisoning, I hope. That was the one thing I was thinking that whole time. I'm like, I hope this is food poisoning, or I hope it's COVID. Because man, if it's fucking cancer, it's way worse than either of those. Now, I was looking at my symptoms, and some of them were caused by inactivity. They said if you spend too much time sitting around doing nothing, that's when you start getting that. I was like, holy fuck, well no wonder, the goddamn pandemic nearly killed me. Why? Because of the fucking lockdown. Not because of a virus with a 99.999998% survival ratio. I couldn't believe that the CDC released the information that the survival rate is 99.999998 for most people. I was like, and we're shutting the country down for what? Because 1% of the population is at risk of a 5% chance of dying? It's like, you gotta be kidding me. This is actually less than the flu. You know, people are getting really upset about people making fun of the virus, saying it's less than the flu. Well, I got fucking news for you. Even the Center of Disease Control, they're saying the survival rate is higher than the flu. Flu is fucking more dangerous than COVID. I'm not surprised at all. The way the fucking government told us that free speech was not allowed to talk about the virus, right then and there, you know they're fucking lying their faces off. Because never does truth fear debate. If you want to debate all you want, when the truth is there, it's like, go ahead, debate, debate, debate. It's fucking, when things are true, it doesn't matter when people are debating, because the truth wins. When all of a sudden you say, hey, you're not allowed to debate something, guess what that means? Someone's fucking lying. So it's like when someone says, hey, you're not allowed to talk about this, it's like, okay, well, what are you lying about it? For not allowed to talk about it, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I know people that got really sick and hospitalized from COVID, but they all survived. So I was thinking, even the really, really sick people I knew that got COVID and nearly died, all of them still survived. It's like I knew people working on the front lines of the hospitals, working on the front lines of the fucking PSWs, fucking everything. People are like, oh, you don't know, you don't know. It's like, why would you assume that I don't know? It's like you assume that I don't know anyone that works in hospitals, eh? It's like, well, I got news for you. I used to work at a place where I knew every doctor in the entire hospital. So when you're telling me that I don't know anyone at hospitals, well, clearly you don't know anything about me. No, a friend of mine went in for surgery because his surgery got delayed because of the lockdown. Said when he finally did get into the hospital for the surgery, it was like a ghost town. Says it's never been so empty. So I was thinking that's why the government didn't want people to know how busy the hospitals were, because they were fucking empty. There was literally like nurses doing videos about dancing. I was like, holy shit, like we're locking down and destroying our entire country to prevent people from being in the hospital. Fucking hospital's empty. There's no one in there. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit. And you turn on the news, they're gonna go on and on telling you how busy it is. Go to the fucking hospital, check yourself. Fucking empty. Ghost town. There's no one in there. people are dying in the fucking senior homes because no one came to feed them. Why? Because of the lockdown. Not because of a fucking pandemic. No virus fucking killed those people. It was fucking the lockdown. So I don't understand, like, how much longer we're gonna let the world get away with this fucking lockdown bullshit. It's like, either you start releasing an app that tells people how many people are in the hospital for COVID, so they could open this app and say, holy fuck, I should really wear a mask because the hospital's filled with people dying of COVID. But see, they can't release that app because people open it and look and be like, holy fuck, the hospitals are empty. Why the hell am I losing my life savings not opening my business? Fucking there's no one dying. So I don't know how long this is going to go on for. I don't know. If I had to guess, the government wants to make these pandemic rules last for years and years and years. They're probably hoping like 10, 20 years they could stretch these vaccine sales on. But yeah, it was just announced today that they did a poll in Canada and a lot of Canadians don't want the vaccine. So I was like, thank God. It's like I knew that was going to happen because in my case, I've been damaged by vaccines and I know tons of people that have won lawsuits for the same thing, getting damaged by vaccines. So when you're going to go around telling people that every vaccine is safe, there's going to be quite a few people that are like, I know that's not true. I've already suffered a vaccine injury. So I know you're fucking full of shit when you're saying that these vaccines are all safe. If it was safe, they wouldn't have a fucking lawsuit thing where they can't sue the vaccine maker for killing you. It's like if it was safe, they wouldn't need that in there, right? And there's the National Vaccine Injury Fund. Maybe I'll put a link for that at the end of the show. If anyone is tired of getting shamed for getting injured by vaccines, make sure you go to that website and get the money you're entitled to. Because the government actually set it up where they have to pay millions out every year to the millions of people damaged by vaccines. It's a fucking brutal industry. It's killing a lot of people. So yeah, they have that fund set up so that people can get some money back. Because for a while there, it was just people selling this poison, giving it out, and they're like, oh, I don't have to worry, no one can sue me. So you got all these fucking girls getting those fucking injections, what is it, cervical things, and dying from it, and it was like, holy fuck. Can't sue them. They just gave you poison that killed your family, but you can't sue them. Yeah, so I encourage everyone. I'm not against all vaccines. Like some vaccines with 100 years of safety trials, I'm all for. It's like if we got some vaccine that's been proven to work for 100 years, fuck yeah, sign me up, inject me. But when you got some injection that's just been invented and no one's even tested it, fuck that shit. Especially if you're going to try to pass laws to make me take that injection, that's when we got some serious fucking shit going down. There's going to be protests like you would not believe if they try to force this on people. I hope. Anyways. Alright, so sorry to get so political today. I hope everyone has a good sober October. Try to be more optimistic than me. Not always be so negative, getting involved in fucking crazy debates, but... Alright, let's see what else I got. Now I was thinking... Almost forgot to move one of the most important things for the show. Is I'm up to 29,712 Satoshi. So I'm very, very, very close. 200 and something away from reaching the 298. Away from reaching the 30,000 goal. So let's do a spin. Woohoo! 29,731 Satoshi. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure the Satoshi amount I get from the rolls, I thought was the same every time, but I'm pretty sure now it changes. Or maybe it's just the counters changing at different rate because other people are gaining some for me for my referrals. I don't know, one way or the other. Yeah, so big shout out to everyone who's been helping with the Bitcoin spins. That really makes my day. You don't know how much it actually helps. I know it's extremely low amounts of money, but it's just something neat for me to collect. I like going up instead of down. It doesn't really matter how much, just as long as it's the right direction. Right, so Patreon, I've got that. If anyone wants to sign up and help with that. Society 6, Swagbucks, GameKit, Hideout, and Bitcoin. If anyone wants to check out those offers below, I've talked about them for months now. Make sure you check it out. Bitcoin's one of my favorites. The Virtual Mate Sex Machine is for adults and men only, but if ladies need a sex machine, they know who to call. I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah, let's continue. Oh yeah, I've got the link for Entropia Zine below, and Raven Jade's shirt links. She's the vampire from Entropia. She has shops around the game, and she used to do, or maybe she still does, Entropia Radio. If anyone's been listening to Entropia Radio recently, maybe let me know. Is that stuff still going on? What else was there? Oh yeah, just make sure you never purchase the products from my sponsor, because it will ruin your life. Bye for now, everyone. Try to stay sober if you can.